Ooh, is that on? Yes. Ooh, that was a... And what I've always said, back wind off, the rubbish bites always the bigger fish. Welcome to a very, very cold winter's day here at the beautiful Cob House Fishery near Worcester. It's a fishery, it's loaded up with carp and also skimmers. It's not a venue that I come really and fish matches, and I thought what a great venue it is to bring you and talk to you about winter bomb fishing. As we all know, if you're a match angler like I am, or if you just go pleasure fishing, there's nothing better than catching winter carp, seeing the rod blast around. Doesn't matter what baits you're fishing with, it could be bread, corn, pellets or maggots, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk to you about today. Let's go and do the setup first, because I think the setup is really, really important for bomb fishing. You know, whether you're chucking it short distance or long distance, you need to be 100% satisfied that you're not getting tangles, you're not getting twisted up, and your rig is sat on the bottom, and when a fish picks it up, you're going to hook it. So let's get over there. I'm going to show you the setup right now. Just going to now set the bomb up and show you exactly what we're going to be, obviously the little setup we're going to be fishing today. It's nice and simple. A couple of little products which make it all better in my opinion. You know, it stops twist ups on the hook length. Especially, we're not going to be casting that far. Oh, there's a carp just come out there. That's good news, because it is absolutely bitterly cold. There's a few fish topping, so it looks like we're going to get a few bites hopefully. Anyway, let's talk about this setup. Now, one component, try and get some of those. They're called line protector stops. I've actually taken them out of the packet at the moment, ready to go. And they come on those little stalks, and you get several on there. They're a great little product, and when I've set it up, I'll show you exactly how it works. But the first thing I'm going to put on is a snap swivel. So a nice little snap swivel. I think we all know what a snap swivel is. That one goes on first. Now this is free running, which is obviously complies to most fisheries I go to anyway. So put the snap swivel on first, let him go up out the way. The next thing is the line protector bead. And all you need to do, they've got the hole in the little wire. Like that. I'll get one that I can actually see, because the grass is green behind me and they're green and everything looks a little bit... Even out when my eyesight's going. Bit of both, I think. So that one there, you put that through and then pull that on. Like that. Nice and simple. And once you've got this set up, obviously you can leave it set up. It's entirely up to you. Now, the next thing you want is a quick chain swivel. So basically what that is, that's like a snap swivel, but you've got a little bit of rubber on there, but you put your hook length on. So that's like a hook, which your hook length goes on, and then that rubber comes down, sits over both, and it holds your hook length on. And they're really, really easy, because you can change from hair rigging, put, you know, different size hooks, sizes of hooks. You can do what you want, you know, longer hook lengths, shorter hook lengths. And I've already got one out here. Medium size is the ones you want. Now I'm going to put that on. I could do with a nice clean edge on my line. That makes, I should have done that at the start really. So let's get a nice clean edge. Makes it a lot easier. Should have done that before I even started it. There you go, straight through. Now if you do it on there, so that goes on, and I'm going to do like a 5 or 6 turn water knot, and I think we all know that. It's just where you spin around both lines. So let's go around 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would normally do this at home when it's nice and you know, nice and warm, and you can get everything set up exactly how you want it. So then that goes back through the bottom of those 6 turns like that. Make sure you wet everything nice. Get out of my tag end and just ease that down to the bottom of the swivel. So that's now in there like that, nice and neat. If you wanted to, you could make that, you could actually make that sit in a little loop if you wanted, but I think that's just nice and neat. So give that a good old pull. Get me scissors again. You don't have to cut this really, really tight. Give yourself a little bit of a tail end, because it will go sitting up inside of this line protector bead. Now the next step is to push that up into, so basically that little bit there, so that eye of that quick change swivel goes up into this bead. I think I could probably show that on the camera like that. So that sits against the barrel. Let's just push that rubber up. So that sits against the barrel of that quick change bead. And like I said, if you wanted to do a little loop in there, connect that to your swivel, you can do. I just prefer like a 6-turn water line. I'm fishing with 8-pound mainline today, but if you were fishing with like lighter lines and you're worried about your knots, just do a tiny, tiny little loop, as long as it sits up into there. And then basically that's it. We're ready to go. All I need to do, so I'll bring that snap swivel down. Obviously you can connect a maggot feeder, you can connect a bomb, a little cage feeder, an all-round little setup. And it's great because, like I said, this twists, so as you're winding back, especially with hair rig corn, hair rig meat, which we'll be fishing with today, and like free red maggots, it stops. You can use this on a river if you wanted. If you're barbel fishing, chub fishing, honestly, it's a great universal little setup. And that little kicker in there sits on that bead like that, look. Because that bead is on like an angle. So when you cast, that helps kick everything off. And it's also free running. So obviously for most fisheries, that's free running. It's a great little product, that. Probably should have used them a long, long time ago. Anyway, that's the setup. And all I will do then is push that rubber up, put whatever hook length I'm using in there, push that rubber back down so it actually contains it into that swivel, and we're away. So there's the setup. Let's now get going. I've got me set up on now. A little bomb. Now, obviously, I'm fishing open water today. It's going to be like 6 foot deep, 7 foot deep, this pool we're on today. So I've opted for a 20 gram. 20 gram is probably sort of my optimal size. Little cube lead there. I think they go in really nice. They sit on the bottom nice. Stick that in the snap swivel. Now, hook length. You can see that little setup there now. If I put that on my glove, look at that for a nice little neat setup. So if you're into your bomb fishing, or you want it for a maggot feeder, etc., try that. Now, hook length wise, I've got some hook lengths tied here, KKHs. I've got some with bands on, I've got some with rapid stops on. I'm using a rapid stop at the moment because I want a piece of, I'm just going to be fishing with 1 or 2 grains of sweet corn. I think corn, look at the colour of the water, it's got a little bit of colour in it, which is quite nice. And I can loose feed a little bit. I'm not going to loose feed a little bit. I'm going to try and just sort of nip around me peg a bit at the start and see if we can get a bite or two. Now, corn wise, when I actually do my own rapid stop hook lengths, if you like, I do them about 10 or 11 mil. I know that sounds quite thing, but you can see why in a minute. Because if you get a nice big piece of F1 corn and you want to use a single piece, you go in that way round, which sits absolutely perfect. But if you want to go double corn, this is why I make them about 10 or 11 mil. It's also nice for air rig corn, air rig meat, and also air rig bread. Now, if you want to put 2 bits of corn on, you can go through the other way. So you put it through the middle. So 1, 2, and you'll see that that sits perfect as well. So if you want to go 1 or 2, if you make them about 11 mil, something like that, you can do multiple different baits with them. So let's give that a bit of a cast out. Like that. Now I'm going to start off just chucking it in the middle, just before the centre of the lake. So, I had a line clip on. I'll do that again, Zolt. At least my upbait stayed on. That hook's sharp. So let's do that again. So I just hope we get a few bites. It's quite nice. I'd done some bomb fishing the other week at a venue, and I quite enjoyed it. I couldn't catch on the pole, but when you had a bite on this, obviously you've got to be on some fish. But it's actually quite nice. Quite enjoyed seeing the rod blast round with some carp on. Got to be patient. So I'm not using a line clip. I'm just going to chuck this out.
Not like a previous time.
No, not that one, Zolt. So I'm going to chuck it out just under halfway. Yeah, it's quite deep there, see? And obviously I'm looking, get myself set up. This is where you want to be nice and patient. And looking for an odd liner. Obviously it'd be nice to get a few liners. Just drop that down a touch. Still got my rod quite straight. Get the clutch. You can always have the clutch set nice. And just wind down. And now, a lot of, obviously there's different weights of leads. I've got a nice little selection here. These little bullet cube leads. They even come at 7 grams now. Look at that. So if you're chucking up to, I would say, that would be, if you're chucking into a venue where the fish are really, really cagey. There was a venue I fished the other week when I felt you wanted to fish a small bomb like that. It was really clear. I think the fish were belting up and down the far bank. And you needed that little bit of noise. If you made a lot of noise, it was like they went away from it. Where, I've just had a liner then, that's good news. Where if you've got a little bomb going in sometimes like that, I think the fish think it's a pellet coming in. I think they're going to be mega when you're fishing a straight lead. More so when you're loose feeding 8mm pellets. And making that little plop. And they think, what's that? If it goes in like a grenade sometimes, they'll just move away from it. So I've opted for a 20 gram at the moment. I think 20 grams nice. You could fish a 30 if you wanted. But 20 gram for me. I can tighten up a little bit on the tip. And and I can just chuck it about. And, some of these places you go to, carp are really, not happy about noise. In other venues it's totally the other way around. But a little 20 gram for me with no wind. If it was a 30, if it was a really windy day, I'll probably have to fish 30. But a little 20 for me today. I think those little bombs would come in. Say, for instance, I wanted to chuck it down by that reed bed. And, the fish were sort of hanging around that like a feature like that. And you just wanted to chuck it in there and make very, very little noise. And things like that. I think that's when them little bombs play a big, big part. For me, up in open water, I would say 20 or 30 grams is normal. That was on a single bit of corn. I had a couple of liners. I've been pinging a bit of corn. Probably about 20 metres out. And I just decided to put a single grain a piece of corn on. And I've chucked it just past, probably like 4 or 5 metres past. There was probably any bait there. I wouldn't have thought so anyway. And it's literally gone round straight away. So it's nice to get that second bite anyway. Feels like a slightly bigger one. When I hooked it, I thought it was a real big one. Oh, he's a nice common, eh? See that single bit of corn. The lovely thing is, I'm using a stopwatch, about 7 or 8 minutes. I'm casting around. No different to what I would do on a method feeder. Perfectly hooked. Ah, they're absolutely freezing cold. See that big, look at that piece of corn coming down by his tail. So there you go. It's nice to get that second bite. Still got the option of putting a bit of bread on, but I just think corn today, with that little bit of colour in it. Let's just put a nice chunky bit of corn on. I've done some discs of bread ready. I do like corn in the winter, especially on the bomb. Let's get a nice big, always look for a nice chunky piece, like quite firm. and that sits on there. Look at that, perfect presentation that. So I'm going to try and cast it similar to where I cast that. About there. Just let that go down. Just take your time. Obviously you don't really want to sort of be dragging along the bottom, because you could be dragging it into some rubbish that's on the bottom. So I just do the same as what I would on a method feeder. Just take your time, let the line sink. I'm going to carry on feeding a few grains of corn, shorter than what I'm casting at the moment, because later on in the day we've not been going long, so I'm just trying to keep that ticking over and flick a bit down that bank as well. I did chuck a little bomb down there at the start just to see how deep it was, and it's pretty deep off those reeds. And one thing about talking about heavy bombs as well, because people say, well, why did Preston or other companies do like a 45 gram bomb? If you're fishing with what they call like a tea bag, which is a little PVA bag, you need quite a heavy bomb. If you don't, what you do, if you try to fish with a bag with a light bomb, when you cast, it starts to do that in midair. So if you do fish with a little bag, you need to put the right lead on. It depends on what size bag you use, but if you've got a reasonable bag, say sort of like, like a golf ball size, you will probably need a 45 gram bomb. So that's what they're there for. Obviously in bad conditions as well, you might need a 45 gram bomb to chuck it into the wind, etc. But I always find 45 gram or heavier bombs to me is when I'm fishing with a little bag on me hook length. So just bear that in mind. But normally, like I said, start the film, I said like 15-20 grams is probably up to 30 grams is my normal. And if I'm fishing down by a little feature like that, and you think the carp are there and they don't want a lot of noise, then start fishing with sort of, little sort of 8-10 gram little bombs if you want to go in. And in the summertime, when you're loose feeding like 8mm pellets and you want to chuck a bomb over the top, that's when them little bombs come into their own, because they go in like an 8mm pellet. You don't leave it there for long, and you can cast, and that little bit of noise, they can follow it down and you get a bite immediately. Quite hard work, that sort of fishing. It's like fishing a pellet wagger, not in and out as fast, but you can treat it like, sort of leave it there 3 or 4 minutes, you're feeding over the top, cast back at, and that's where them little bombs I think are really, really good. Another little indication then. I think I found a little bit there now. I had that one shorter. Another little indication then. I've actually had one roach as well. There's obviously a few roach about. That's really good. So that's like 4 meters past where I'm just pinging that bit of corn. Got me clutch set, as you can probably hear there. It's a nodder, that rod is absolutely superb for this style of fishing. Little 10-foot super light. Tip wise, it's up to you really. Ounce and a half. I don't think it makes a lot of difference. If you're into your F1 fishing during the winter, bomb fishing, probably stick with an ounce. And if you're into your carp fishing, like an ounce and a half is absolutely fine. It's just that lovely action. It's lovely just to go a bit of winter fishing on this actually. And you could quite use this with little methods, maggot feeders. Ooh. That single grain of corn seems to be a little bit better, eh? Definitely feels a bit bigger. Oh yes. Tell you what, that's a proper good fight that for like a 5-6 pounder. Felt about £15 when I hooked it. But that little setup, every time I wind back in, my corn hook bait is perfectly straight. There's no twisting, and that's what I love about that little setup. I've showed quite a few people it, and they absolutely love it, whether they're casting short distances or long distances. I've had loads of comments saying absolutely brilliant. Nice fish though, on a big winter's day like today. Probably £6 I would say. Well looked. I said 16 or 14 hook are my favourite 2 size hooks for this. I'm not going to pick him up, or shall I pick him up? Zolt's going to want to get on in a minute, because he likes his bomb and feeder fishing. Oh, he's having a right go. He's not happy. Oh, he's absolutely, honestly, it's like a block of ice, that fish. He is not happy, even though it's freezing cold. There you go. That's the third one that we've had in quite short time. Let's get him back and see if we can get another one. So I'm just going to carry on with that now. And what I would do is, especially in open water matches or an open water lake like I'm fishing today, if I cast out and nothing happened, I go sort of 4 or 5 metres to the right hand side, but I try and get a little map in my mind where I've caught those 2, because they do shoal up massively in the winter, carp, as we all know. There's another piece of corn on. So, yes, perfect size that. That is an absolute, looks perfect that. So I've got to try and remember where I caught that. Yes, nice little plop from that bomb. Just catapult a bit of course. Nice when you actually get a few bites and get going. You can get into the rhythm of it. Just like a little bit shorter, like 8 or 10 pieces like that. Oh, what a gutter! That might have been a liner, I don't know. I thought I was going to be on that. But you can see that, look at that, I wound that back in. And that hook length is absolutely, that quick chain swivel makes all the difference. Let's get that line down this time. Same principle you can use as when you're fishing with a method. Just get that line down. We've got a real nasty side wind at the moment. It's quite nice where I'm sat, but out there, believe you me, that wind is quite strong and it's absolutely bitterly cold. Flick a little bit up that bank. Slight little bit of tension in it, like that. Get me stopwatch going. I'm just trying to use that stopwatch to give me a little bit of, you know, if I cast there twice and don't get a bite, I can go to the right hand side a little bit. Because they do move about, these carp in these commercials in the winter now. I think they just, if they're not interested in feeding, they do just literally just move around in a ball. And if you're lucky enough, you know, if you're lucky enough to be in the right area of the lake, I think we all know nowadays that they're not everywhere, but using the right setup and everything else, if you do get on a few, you need to make the most of what you got. certainly kicked off. I had 2 in a row, and then had a bit of a quiet spell for about 20 minutes, and I've chucked slightly to the right now, and I've probably had like 10 now, which is brilliant considering the conditions. And we're into like mid-afternoon, and I think it's just going to get better and better. But it's nice to come out, use the gear, get your setup nice, be really confident, because that's one thing with all this sort of fishing, is you've got to be confident about, especially when you're fishing with bread and things like corn and meat that you're casting at, everything's not tangled. It's just nice for me to come out with the cameras, show you guys the setup. Still fishing, you know, quite heavy, 017 bottoms. You could always drop your hook lengths down if you've wanted to. But I'm going to call this the last fish of the day, no matter what size it is. We've probably caught fish up to £6. Oh yes, mooring the mirror as well to finish. That's the first mooring we've had. But what a nice fish to finish off the session. So nice little 15-20 gram bomb. Them hooks have not lost a single fish on a 14 kkh. Absolutely superb condition that. Single grain of corn again. Let's get him back. And just have a quick talk about really what's happened. It took a bit of time to get them going, but that to me, that little setup, I think is the most important thing you'll get out of this film. It is absolutely superb. Whatever bomb size you're fishing with, that is absolutely, honestly, not a single, look at the line. The line looks like I've just taken out of the hook box. There's no twisting. It's absolutely superb. Have a, you know, if you want to, you can probably see the size of the loop that I've got there. That's what I've tied by hand, about an inch and just over an inch. So that's up to you. But look how easy it is. It's literally, don't never worry about that piece of rubber. That rubber will not come off. So it's as easy as doing that. Changing your hook length if you want to. Make sure that that piece of black rubber just goes over like that. It's really important. I do see people where the rubber has gone actually into that little hook, but you've got to cover the whole bit like that. And that's honestly, I think that's probably the biggest thing you guys would take out today, is that little setup. Nice little cube bomb. Doesn't make a massive amount of noise when it goes in. Obviously holds onto the bottom. We've got these little gripper, sort of little grippers on it as well. And that shape bomb definitely helps you. So, you know, I think I might have one more, but Zolt has to go because fair play to him. He's actually stuck it out there. It's been absolutely bitterly cold. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you picked up some tips. You know, going back to hook lengths really. 15 inches, you know, anywhere from a foot to 15 inches I think is about normal. Like I said, nice big chunky piece of corn like that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it, and get out on your local venue and do a little bit of bomb fishing for carp.